What's up? Welcome to The Square, which is a weekly live stream podcast, if you will, on topics that range from art and business, culture and faith, structure and productivity, with upliftment by yours truly, ShySpeaks. Like any other town or city or urban square, I want you to think of this square as a one open public space suitable for business, suitable for entertainment, and suitable for civic activities. Listen, for when I think about the square, or when you think about the square, I also want you to think about another definition, which means directly and straight. I like the definition. It works for me because I am a person who believes in straight talk. As an artist, listen, my music is positive, it's empowering. I think that you can say what you mean without being mean when you say it. So, this podcast is the platform for me to share a positive perspective while promoting productivity and power to the people. You know what I'm saying? I still can't believe I actually have a podcast. This is crazy.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Albeit intentional or unintentional, you have a personal brand. Newsflash, you do not have to have a business or be a content creator monetizing off the distinctive value that you add to a group of people to have a personal brand. You have one. You have a personal brand, so let's unpack the core essentials of what gives a personal brand its power.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Now, when I say personal brand, I'm saying personal brand because I mean something different. But in order for you to really understand personal as an individual, I want you to understand what it means. Let's define what a personal brand is. So let's go ahead and head over here and take a look. Now, by definition, I got some definitions pulled up here. The official definition of a personal brand. A personal brand is a widely recognized, largely uniform perception or impression of an individual based on their experiences, expertise, competencies, actions, and or achievements within a community, industry, or a marketplace at large. Okay, so that just sounds real serious. You're like, wait a minute, where are we going? Listen, I'm telling you, stick with me now. But that's the personal brand. But then when we give the definition of personal branding is the conscious, I like that word, intentional, I like that word, effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry, elevating their credibility, and differentiating themselves from the competition to ultimately advance their career. It's going to increase their circle of influence and have a larger impact. Come on, man. Listen, okay, all that sounds real complicated. That was a long definition. So let's put it simply. They say a personal brand is rooted in the minds of people in the market. It's what's rooted in their minds. Personal branding is the effort to communicate and present your value to the world. Okay, I like that. A little bit more simple. But even simpler, they say here, a true personal brand revolves around what other people say about you. Personal branding revolves around what you say about yourself. So the question here is, what are your core values? Who is the real you? Because after all, I said you, yes, you have a personal brand, and by that I mean a individual brand, okay? Who is the real you, right? How do you want to define yourself as an individual? Moreover, how would you like to be defined, right? Not how do you want to define yourself, but how would you want to be defined, like when you're not around? That's the question. The reason why that matters to me, and I want to pause right there for the cause, is because these are the type of questions that I believe should precede branding your authentic self. I'm talking about personal branding, which is individual branding, so the brand of you. But in reality, when we talk about personal branding, It has to come from the individual. And most of the time, if you listen to people talk about personal branding, they're going to say the power of it lies in being authentic. I actually differ a little bit. I agree it does lie in being authentic, but I believe that these questions that I just asked should precede branding. Like, you need to be asking yourself, what are your core values? Who is the real you? How do you define yourself? How do you want to be defined? Okay, I'm going to give you an example. See, listen, I used to work at State Farm. I was out before I was a full-time entrepreneur. And working at State Farm, one of the things they tell you is that employees need to be mindful of their personal brand. I mean, as soon as you come in to State Farm, straight out the gate in training, they're talking to you about brand, 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 brand. And you're like, wait, why are you talking about? I don't have a brand. I'm just a person. I don't have no company. I've heard people say that in the training class. They said, no, we're talking about the individual brand. Everything that you do, say, and present is building your brand of how we're going to see you as an employee. Everything from here on out that you do, say, how you clock in, don't clock in, whether you're late, whether you don't come in, all of this is going to be building your brand. It's going to be, and that's how people experience you, what they think of you. Is what's going to be rooted in the minds and our minds based on what you do. So it's putting the ownership on an individual to be mindful of what people are going to say about them. I don't think that State Farm is trying to encourage people to be fake. Like, oh, well, go out here and act like you're somebody else. What they're trying to say is there sometimes is a disconnect between who you are and how you want to be perceived. And if this is how you want to be perceived, then this probably should be who you are. You need to actually shift over into being this person. That's why you have to ask yourself, what type of person do you want to be, right? I love it. I love that entire concept. It really reshaped my mind, and it made me realize, like, wow, personal brand is truly just my reputation. And reputation is what people call me when I'm not in the room. And what people call me is actually my name. So, what do I want to be called? That is, to me, the real power. The power is in your hands to be able to shape how you're going to be called when you're not in the room. So, yeah, go build yourself first. Decide how you want to be and who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world. Go build that person first. Then be your authentic self. And then brand that authentic self. That to me is the core essential. That is the power of a personal brand. Now, before I end this video, I want you to consider something. I want you to consider this question. How am I wielding my power to shape what I want to be called, or how I want to be called, or who I want to be called? That power is in my hand. The power is in being authentic, yes, but the power is in being able to shape the authenticity that I want to present. How am I wielding that power? Another thing I want you to consider. I want you to consider liking this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Lizzo is being sued and her public perception is being smeared. It is being destroyed. It is being obliterated. By the end of this video, you may not have the juicy details of the case, but you will have an understanding about the principles of why this is being out to be made such a huge deal in society, which will serve as a reminder to you on a personal level. Like, yes, there are some things here in this case that should remind you about how to govern yourself moving forward. Let's get into it.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Reason number one, right? So I said I'm going to make sure you understand why, the principles behind why this is being made to be such a big deal in society. I think it's being made to be such a big deal because it's being made to be such a big deal. Here's what I mean. If you haven't heard, yes, Lizzo is being sued by her 3 former dancers. To be sued means you have a lawyer, and a lawyer has to have a strategy in the courtroom. But some lawyers have strategies before they get to the courtroom. And I believe that this is what's going on because the news about this spread so quickly like wildfire. It's almost as if there was an entire press campaign put behind the lawsuit. I say that because, listen, let me show you over here. Look, the New York Times, listen, the New York Times says former tour dancer accuses Lizzo. I'm saying, like, this is all over the most major outlets. Like, yes, people file lawsuits all the time. And when they file lawsuits, it's not national news. And it's not just national news because she's a celebrity. Plenty of celebrities have lawsuits filed against them. This is being made to be a big deal. It's a big deal because Lizzo is being accused of having her dancers be involved with harassment and a hostile work environment. Whew, it's not funny. Like this is serious and it's actually sad. I only smirk because I'm like reading between the line. I'm like peeping game. What this tells me is these are accusations of harassment. These are accusations of a hostile environment, which means that this may or may not hold up in a court of law or in front of a jury of her peers. But Ms. Lizzo and her team are being put in front of a jury of the public, okay, which is sometimes even harsher. Why? Because that can thrust her into crisis mode, right? It's like, oh my gosh, everybody's thinking this about me, whether or not it's true. The opinions of her have already been swayed. And the crazy part is, Lizzo has come out and denied these allegations. Say what? Yes, Lizzo is denying it. Let me show you of a principle of why this is being made to be such a big deal. Uh, let you hear a little bit about what they're saying.
That is true. During that excruciatingly long re-audition process, was I under the impression that if I left the stage, I would be fired? Yes. Did I unfortunately go to the bathroom on myself on one stage because I was so terrified? Yes. There is you in a court of law. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything, but I know that if you ask someone to tell the truth, these things will come out of her mouth. If you have to say yes or no to these questions, she has to say yes because they are true.
You really think that she was going to resort or could resort to physical violence?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, the facts of that were that she actually balled up her fist like this to me. She started cracking her knuckles, and she was like, "You're so effing lucky that basically I'm not going to hit you." And, you know, I was in shock watching her do that and cracking her knuckles and acting as if she was going to come at me. And for a second, I was like, I don't think she's going to do that. Like, that's not what's going to happen. But the fact that one of her dancers, all of us were present, all the dancers were present for mostly all of these allegations.
This is, ooh. I'm gonna get to the principles of the matter here in a moment and how this relates to you and how it's reminding you of something on a personal level. Yeah, I trust me. If you're watching this video, I know to watch. But I just want to go here to what Lizzo had to say.
Professional. I take my music and my performances seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. With passion comes hard work and high standards.
Okay. All right. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is. Okay. Still, no juicy details here. But this is kind of crazy because at the end of the day, what makes this such a big deal in society is that if this is true, this will be the highest level of irony and hypocrisy that anybody has seen in a long time. I'm saying that because Lizzo is kind of like a face, like the face of like body positivity. And the allegations, if I go back here to this New York Times article, the allegations are that she had them being involved with overly sensual atmosphere. She was harassing them. The tour's dance captain has done things that Lizzo may or may not know something about sensual type of harassment, weight shaming. I mean, it's all kind of stuff. Then this is the part that kind of gets weird right here. So it's not just the weight shaming from the person who's body positive and who is hurt from the same weight shaming, but this is the part right here that kind of gets is that there are some type of religious teachings being forced upon these ladies, like some kind of Christianity is being forced down their throat, or I don't know. This it's kind of it's a lot. Like if this is true, let me tell you this. It's a lot going on. Those are conflicting things. Like so, in one way, you're saying this is a strict, let's have all these morals and integrity Christianity environment. And this other way, you're saying she's exposing you to environments where you have to be, they're overtly sensual, and you have to do things against your will, and you're being like, which one is like, are we debaucherous? Or are we integrous? Well, I don't. All this is happening at the same place, so it's kind of don't seem like. Let's just say this: those two things conflict. I guess the question here is that most people have at this point, because they've seen the story, is there any evidence, right? So far, none has been mentioned. Like when I say evidence, they didn't say, well, we have the videos and we have text messages and we have emails, some type of receipt that we say that can prove these allegations. I don't see that any of those have been presented, but they're saying, hey, this is facts. This is facts. And then the other thing that happens when it comes to something like this in the court of law, which is, are there any witnesses, right? Now, I don't think there's been any witnesses besides the other dancers who can all vouch for it. And the crazy part is the former staffers, former dancers. I say staffers because I think there was some type of creative director of some sort who also came forward saying that, listen, yes, I have experienced a hostile and toxic work environment myself. So again, all this stuff going on and people saying these things, it kind of leads me to the principle that I feel like you should be left with. But let me go back and say this. I said all those things are going on, they're conflicting. It makes it seem like I don't believe it. I don't think anything is unbelievable. I believe anything in this day and age. Can't put nothing past nobody at this point. And all I'm saying is if those things are going on, whew, it will be a lot. So it's the principle for people. So number one, it's being made to be a big deal because it looks like there's some kind of press campaign. And then number two, it will be ironic, it will be hypocrisy, and it will be the most hostile, toxic, and dramatic, toxic, for those of y'all, she said toxic, no, toxic and dramatic experience for somebody. So these allegations prove to be true. Oh my gosh, the amount of like what they have had to go through kind of is beyond me. It blows my mind. But I want to go back to the principle, right? The principles for you. I want to go to these principles because Lizzo literally denied it. And I did I make it clear? I made it clear. Yeah, Lizzo on CNN because I said New York Times, CNN, this is a big deal, right? So she denies that. She said no, she's hurt that they've even filed this type of lawsuit. You see what I'm saying? So she says this is preposterous. She said they're former employees and their behavior has been unacceptable, right? Basically, they just weren't. They didn't level up as employees, and so now they want to come out and say something like this, which is like, no, I know I have a high standard, and so it sounds good, but there's quite a few people willing to come forward and say the opposite, and so here's what I want to leave you with. I think this is a reminder that we can draw. This is a negative situation, very negative situation, but there's something positive that can be extracted here, and that is number one, walk in integrity because integrity vindicates you. I'm gonna actually have to give you a scripture. Gotta give you a scripture. Psalms 35:24 says, vindicate me in your righteousness, Lord. My God, do not let them gloat over me. Now, if you paying attention, he said, vindicate me in your righteousness. But he's also want God's righteousness to be his righteousness, right? Let me walk righteousness. If you righteous, I'm walking righteous. You know I'm walking worthy. Please vindicate me, right? Don't let them gloat over me. Listen, I'm telling you, if you walk in integrity, your truth will outlive their lives. I have to chuckle right there because I've experienced some things like this where people were saying things about me, all kinds of preposterous things, and they weren't the least bit of truth. And I wasn't around to defend myself. There was no lawsuit launched, but eventually somebody had an opportunity to experience that person in by themselves, aside from me, and it let them know that nah, everything they were saying, this person was saying about me, that's not true, right? Also, time had went on and I continued to live the same lifestyle. I walked with integrity, and this person didn't have any receipts or any type of proof that I had done anything otherwise. So basically, the truth, your truth, will always outlive a lie if you're walking with integrity. So let's be reminded to do that. Another thing I want to be reminded to do, and that is I want to be reminded to, man, we need to make sure that there is shared values with those who we come in alignment with. And I was looking over here to decide because I want to show you here in the court case, in the lawsuit rather, the lawsuit is being brought against, of course, Lizzo. They put her first full name, and then Shirlene Quigley, who is the tour's dance captain. Here's what it says that's very interesting, and why I say that you need to make sure that you have shared values with people who you come in alignment with, because it says it did not specify whether the singer, that is Lizzo, the lawsuit does not specify whether the singer was aware of the plaintiff's allegations linked to Miss Quigley. So, like, what I'm saying is, she may or may not even know what this person was doing. What I'm trying to say is, people who you come in alignment with represent you. Yes, as you see on the article, there's somebody else's names. There's Lizzo and some other person's name. But that person's name is not the one that's really being drugged through the mud right now. That person is not being smeared in such a heavy way. All the headlines say Lizzo, right? And so I'm not trying to say you have to have shared values with everybody you associate with, because that's impossible. There's no way to have shared values in every single area with every single person that you associate with. But you should have shared values with people who you align with. And even still, you can't have shared values in every single way with even the people you align with. But what you should do as the leader of a thing is to make sure you say, hey, when we're here, this is the standard over here. This is what we do over here. We have shared values as it relates to this professional environment or this project we're working on or this little league team, whatever it is, over here at my house, this is what we do. Do we have shared values there? Do we have an alignment there? We may not have alignment in other areas, but when we're here, this is what we're going to do. It's very, very important. And here's a little bonus content before I get off this topic. Notice I keep saying if this is true, and it is horrible, right? The only reason why I'm saying that is not because I'm not validating their experience. I validate their experience. Like, listen, what I'm saying is if it holds up in the court of law, true, right? But just because something don't hold up in a court of law, that doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that there's not enough substantial evidence. So I understand that. So I sincerely and truly, man, I hate the fact that they have endured whatever has brought them here to be willing to go public in this way. Because what you would think is ruining her reputation can also kind of be smearing their own. So, I feel for them in that. I think that it sucks. It is sad, right? But I say that to say that this is a law case. This is just not public opinion. What you think, what you think, what you think, what you think. This is a lawsuit. And so a lot of times people with public opinion, we just jump to the conclusion. You don't have all the details or any of that. Like, y'all gotta quit jumping to conclusions and let stuff unfold and let stuff unveil. Right now, all you can say, hey, look, this is crazy. This is wild. And I hate that anybody would have to be in this type of position, Lizzo or the dancers or the whoever. Like, I wish that there was a way for people to be able to resolve their disagreements with one another in a better, in a more conducive, in a more amicable way. When we see these types of negative things happen in society, we don't just look at them and be like, oh, what happened? Give me the tea, give me the juice. Like, no, I want you to see them and take heed, right? So you want to have the reminder that you need to be walking in integrity. Yeah, this is what's going on with Lizzo, but how is your integrity going? What is somebody else able to say about you? And if you're walking with integrity, then your integrity will be your vindication. It will protect you, right, in the long run. Also, I want to let this situation remind us to audit our circles. You definitely have to audit your circle to make sure that you have shared values with the people who you have alignment with. And in doing that, you're going to be protecting your name. Because see, your name is, I would say, it's an intangible asset, right? A good reputation, I used to hear as a little girl, is better than silver and gold because a good reputation can't be bought. It must be earned. So here's what I want you to do. No, I don't want you to do anything. I got a question. Question. Do you think that Lizzo can earn her reputation back after this smear, right? What would be a smear campaign? Do you feel like she can actually earn her reputation back? I want to know. I want to know what you think. Drop me some comments. I want to keep this type of conversation going because I want us to be able to have positive things that we can extract even out of negative things that we see going on in society. And not only do I want you to drop me a comment, I want you to consider subscribing to the channel again so that we can keep this conversation going. And I'll see you in the next video.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Bed Bath and Beyond and Overstock are now one. That's right, Overstock has rebranded to Bed Bath and Beyond, and I believe that this is great news for small businesses. I gotta talk about it.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Overstock is now Bed Bath and Beyond, and I believe that this is good news for small businesses. Not because of the deals that you could receive from going to those store closeouts and buying some stuff that could uplevel your workspace, which you could have did that, but because of the rebranding tips that are oozing out of this deal. Ooh! In this video, I'm going to give you 3 benefits from the rebrand of Overstock to Bed Bath & Beyond that small businesses should be paying attention to. I'm actually going to drop a gem. Now I'm going to drop 2 gems. No, I'm going to just drop several gems for small businesses here by the end of this video. So you want to stay tuned until the end.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Bed Bath and Beyond is Overstock, and Overstock is Bed Bath and Beyond. I actually want to just go straight to the horse's mouth. And when we go straight to the horse's mouth, that's going to help us to really understand the branding benefits, right? And I'm going to pull out the 3 different tips of what happened based on what the CEO said. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Making a new regional change here in the U.S. Take us into the strategy and decision-making timeline that's going into this.
So we've long liked the name Bed Bath & Beyond. It was an iconic name that was synonymous with home. Overstock, as good as our business model has been, the name really didn't describe who we were. So the opportunity to purchase the name, we tested it in the rollout in Canada for a month. We saw better direct traffic, we saw better conversion, all signs were good. So today's the day in the U.S. that we relaunched as Bed Bath & Beyond.
And so tell us about what you're seeing already.
Number 1. The intellectual property here, right? That there's intellectual property that was exchanged. The CEO of Overstock said that he realized that we've long loved the name Bed Bath & Beyond, and we saw our name as a blunder. And so despite the fact that the Bed Bath & Beyond business model failed, they still had a good name. The name was so good that they were willing to buy the name, right? So there's so much goodwill attached to the name. There are so many customers that come with the name that they were willing to say, hey, I know you're going out of business. I know your business model failed. I don't consider you a failure, though. It's just the business model failed. And I think that small businesses need to take that into consideration. Don't think that, hey, if I build this thing up and for whatever reason my business model fails, let's just say at that time you created thousands of customers. Those thousands of customers still want to interact with you. They still want your service. It's just that you cannot sustain your expenses and your overhead. So for Bed Bath and Beyond, they were in-person stores, had these really big stores, and then you have to have warehouses, and then you have to have all that's going on, shipping and all this kind of stuff, the economy. So because of that, their revenue and their expenses just wasn't evening out. So the business model failed, and they now need to shift to an online model. And instead of them having to do the shift, an online model who already exists says, "I'll take your name." So I want small businesses to think about that. Be so busy building out not just the business model, because at the end of the day, that there are some variables there, but build a name because somebody could come along and buy that. Listen, he said over here that he knew that there was going to be a flock of customers that was going to come because of the name. And that's actually going to fuel Overstock's strategy. They have a strategy to get more customers to spend more frequently. Well, when you're selling couches and patio furniture, you can't get people to spend as frequently. But when you acquire Bed Bath and Beyond, you bring their customers and you bring their inventory, you bring it right. So then now all of a sudden we're not just offering you to buy another new couch. You can actually buy some pillows to change the look of how your fall looks versus your spring look and keep the same couch. But you're still ordering from us. Like, see, so this is going to fuel their strategy. I want to show you how it's going to fuel their strategy. Let's watch it a little bit more.
In terms of people coming to the site. And I'm also curious, were people sort of waiting for it? It launched in Canada before. Were people coming to Overstock.com kind of, were you seeing an uptick in traffic ahead of the name change?
Not in the US. We did see a big uptick in traffic in Canada. Other thing that we saw was suppliers who we once thought to do business with that had been opening their whole catalog to us, started knocking on our door, opening their catalog. So since the deal was first announced, we've added over 600,000 new product streams in the Bed Bath and kitchen area. So it's a much deeper and broader offering than we had as Overstock. I think the customers are going to recognize that. It's really a great customer.
Oh, okay. So listen, he just said that because of acquiring the name, the rebrand, they've rebranded to from Overstock.com because that name kind of sounds like they sell surplus and refunded items and liquidated stuff, but they really don't. They actually sell new things. And so they have home furnishing. But he says because of the new partnership with Bed Bath and Beyond and that name, that rebrand, the look, the feel, and the name of Bed Bath and Beyond has brought on new suppliers. They expanded their supplier list and they've been able to bring on new product offerings, right? Because people who didn't want to work with them before as Overstock.com. So let's say somebody has a luxury furniture or a home decor piece. They don't want to feel like it's on Overstock.com, but they want it on Bed Bath and Beyond, right? So we understand that I want it here because I know this is stuff that people buy. They will put on their wedding registry and all that, and people are more likely to say, "Oh, we're registered at Bed Bath and Beyond." Than they are to say, yes, we're registered at Overstock.com, right? So now, because of that, if I'm a supplier and I have this luxury item that I want to sell to wedding people and so forth and so on, I can now get on Overstock.com's list because I'm willing to be, right? I like the name. Like I want my product to be associated with this type of name, which is another thing for small businesses. A lot of times small businesses like, oh, I'm going to name my business something that I just kind of want to represent me. This represents me. This represents me. And so there's the issue. You need to have something. You need to have a name that attracts customers. You need to have a name that sends a message to people about what they can get from you, right? And so this rebrand says, hey, this is the people who have bed, bath. So now they have home furniture and beyond. I like it. I like what they did there. So Keep that in mind. Rebrand number tip. When you rebrand, number one, you can up level your intellectual property. Rebrand tip number two is that you can actually unlock new partnerships based on the look, the feel, and the name of the rebrand. It might actually attract some different people who wouldn't have wanted to be attracted to the old name that simply just represented you, right? Let's get into number three. Let's see what the CEO has to say. I'm going to go forward a little bit. Let's see what he has to say. All right, let's go. We're going to go back and watch it here in a second. I'm going to tell you number three is that a good rebrand that is going to have the customers reaping the most benefit. Right? So I'm talking about benefits for small businesses from the rebrand. But yes, the customer is going to benefit as well, and you want the customer to benefit. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Talk to us about that customer experience, because a lot of people who have engaged with the previous brand or the previous iteration of Bed Bath & Beyond, they would say, all right, the digital is great, but what about those physical coupons that I used to get? Those physical coupons are a lot more digital these days now with the transformation. How do you look at the promotional cycles, the customer engagement, where you're going to be able to leverage this name to drive more loyalty?
So we have always been a high-low retailer, highly promotional, using coupons. We'll continue to do that. For the Bed Bath & Beyond legacy customer that loves the coupons, what they really need to do is download our new Bed Bath & Beyond app. That will be the way special promotions will be pushed to them. We have today, if people download that 25% coupon, that is a big blue coupon that will be in their app. And so I think it'll be feel very familiar, both as the products they see on our site and the shopping experience with great corporate deals. Now, I will say this. Our pricing is always been low smoker. So we
Okay. He about to say some other stuff. No, let's listen.
Beyond this initial promotional period, we probably won't keep on quite as large, but the out of the store checkout will be better deals. I think that's what they'll see because our pricing increases.
All right, cool. So if you listen to what he said, let's kind of unpack that. He basically said that they have always been a high-low, which means they kind of thrive on discounts and coupons and all that type of stuff. And so what's going to happen here is people who came over from Bed Bath & Beyond say, what? You can go ahead and download the new app, just Overstock's app, which is now going to look like Bed Bath & Beyond. You're going to come over your membership. You're not going to have to pay for that. So membership, I think, was like $20 a month. Now you're going to be able to get that membership free, and you're going to be able to unlock all these different coupons and rewards and all. So the customer is going to win here. To me, it's a beautiful rebrand when your intellectual property increases because, number one, somebody may come along one day and buy it, even if your business model fails, especially if it has goodwill attached to it and still some customers that come with it. Trust me, people will get it. Number two, that is, you're going to get some new partnerships from this rebrand. And then number three, that is, the customers are going to reap some benefits. Here for Overstock.com to Bed Bath & Beyond, they're going to have this coupon model, and they're going to increase people's frequency. They're going to see better deals and so forth and so on, because Overstock was a little bit more on the pricier side, but now they have more items in their inventory, right? They have more SKUs, is what he said. Then basically, now they're going to have more things to offer that are a little bit lower, so people can kind of mix and match with some of the high patio furniture, and then maybe you can get some pillows and some different accents and so forth and so on. All of this is coming from a rebrand. So some people may ask, okay, well, this sounds good. Like, these are all really cool reasons, right? But for me, like, how long is it going to take for it to be fully integrated? Because rebranding can take a long time. And, like, I already have it like this. And how long is it going to take me to get it like that? And then the website and so forth and so on. But if you listen and you go on to watch the interview, if you like on your own, like we've only watched half of it. He says that it's going to take them about 12 months. But it's okay because they're playing the long game. And as a small business, you should be playing the long game as well. Make those quick, most necessary adjustments. Like for them, they made the quick adjustment of changing their website. And they didn't change anything about, matter of fact, let's show you. Let me show you what they did. Here we go. They went, you go to Overstock.com, boom, it just takes you to Bed Bath & Beyond. It probably has a little bit of a different feel here, as you can see. Okay? So, I mean, they didn't do, it's not a lot. There is some kind of way to get it done quickly. Now, there's still some other things that are going to happen to make it all fully integrated. But still, for you, if you're considering, no. Before I talk about if you're considering rebranding, what to do, let me drop a bonus tip right here. Because listen, if you are in the home decor or furniture space, I highly recommend you submit your application to overstock.com. Even if you're a small business, like, oh, I don't. Now, make sure you can, keep up with the demand in case they keep it. If they say yes, but still, the reason why I say that is because if you watch this interview, the CEO was able to rattle off the fact that because of the rebrand, they got new suppliers. New suppliers came on board who were willing to offer their stuff, and they then said that he added over 600,000 product SKUs. And the fact that he was able to rattle off that number means that he sees that as a win. That's a number that he decided to lock into his psyche. So he's like, oh, 600,000. Well, how much more cool would it be to say, for him to say, hey, because of this rebrand from overstock.com to Bed Bath & Beyond, we've been able to add over 1 million product SKUs, right? And if he's going to go from 600 to 1 million, that's 400,000 new product SKUs that are going to be added. And some of those, at least 100 of them, 200, 300, 400, however many products you have can be some of yours. So I say shoot your shot because maybe they're going for more product SKUs. Anyway, back to what I was saying. What is the point of a rebrand, right? And if you're going to rebrand, it better not be to update your colors and update your fonts and stuff like that. If you're going to rebrand, you need to actually do something that's going to build your intellectual property. You need to do something that is going to bring new partnerships, new suppliers, new vendors, meaning you can carry a deeper variety of products that may not have fit with you before. And number 3, customers are going to be able to be converted into clients, which is basically what he was saying here. Like, basically, most of the time, people buy from overstock.com, they buy one big item, they may come back later on another year when they buy another big item. But when you have people who coming back repeatedly, these have went for a one-time customer transaction to clients, right? So as a small business, you have to think about that. Will this rebrand and this new name make people want to do business with me more regularly? Will they become a client? So if you're considering rebranding, don't do it on a surface level. Be like overstock.com and use the rebrand as an opportunity to uplift and update the entire business. If you are going to rebrand or launch a new brand, do me a favor. Keep these 3 benefits in mind. Hopefully, you found this video to be helpful. If so, drop me a line on the one benefit that resonates with you the most. And also, I would like for you to consider liking this video. Okay? And I'll see you in the next one.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
I can't believe we got a podcast. Welcome back to the square, ladies and gentlemen. If clarity is the greatest gift that you could give to yourself and others, and miscommunications create a lot of bottlenecks, then I believe that you should be setting clear expectations in your personal and professional life. In this video, I want to explore how expectation setting can be used to maximize your productivity and enhance your personal brand.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Not to mention, I am also going to be sharing 2 expectation setting practices that you can easily implement today. So you want to stick around to the end of this video so you can get those 2 gems. Now, let's get into the meat of what I'm talking about. To me, individual brand is the tangible emotional experiences that people have while they are interacting with you, sort of like companies, right? That's the tangible emotional experiences that customers have with while they're interacting with brands. Well, the same is true for you. And if you want to enhance that experience, you have to be intentional. And intentions have to be set, i.e., incomes, expectation setting. We're going to get into it a little bit later, but I want to let you know what I mean by productivity. Productivity is efficiency. It's the best way to enhance. The best way to enhance efficiency is to eliminate time waste. And I don't know about you, but I feel like one of the biggest wasters of time is miscommunication. I do not like wasting time on miscommunication because it leads to misaction. Then it leads to rework, and then it leads to another conversation about why there was a breakdown in the conversation in the first place, and all of that could have been avoided by setting expectations in the first place. Shot. The definitions are cool, but can we get into the meat of the matter? Like setting expectations actually enhance my productivity. How can it enhance my personal brand? Well, I'm glad that you asked. I am actually going to show you how really it does a number on both of them. Quick personal example, right? So I'm a music artist. I offer live performances as a service, as most artists do. They get booked to tour and all that, right? Well, people book me via a booking form on my website. Now, above the form, it says, and I'm going to read it, ShySpeaks is available for a wide range of events, and we've made securing her for your event a simple process. Once you submit this form, you should hear back from a representative within 2 business days. Please fill out the form entirely as the information you can provide initially will assist in the booking process and ensures that your feedback is received. Please be aware that this serves as an invitation only, not a confirmation of appearance. It will merely assist us in making the best decision possible while doing all we can to meet your request. Okay, here's what just happened with that. That's expectation setting at its finest. A couple of sentences that let people know how we're rolling. So first of all, we just enhance the customer or the client or the booker or promoter's experience. Why? Because we've eliminated a point of disappointment for them if they don't hear back from us within an hour or 2 hours, or maybe they submitted it that night and then the next morning they're like, oh, we still haven't heard back. Well, we've already let them know. They give us about 48 hours and we'll get back to you. Now, oftentimes, that is what we're doing right there, which is over delivering and under promising, right? We know it's not going to take 48 hours all the time, but just in case we do need that and we are in a busy season, we have it and we've set the expectation that you can expect to hear from us at that particular point in time. So disappointment has been minimized and customer experience has been enhanced. Also, we mentioned something about them filling out the form so that it can enhance the booking process. When people hear process, they automatically think, oh, this is going to be professional. The fact that there's a process all anyway lets people know that this is professional. So if you have a process about something, I'm telling you, just introduce it to people. They're like, okay, you professional, you fancy. No, seriously. Number two, the productivity internally for us has just been increased. Why? Because checking emails multiple times throughout the day can be time consuming. It's extremely time consuming and extremely distracting. But because we've said, give us 48 hours, that means we only actually have to check email 1 time per day. Right? So now we can actually be more effective when we go into the email instead of going into the email, talking to the person, sending them, going out, going back and checking again later because I don't want to miss any bookings because people are submitting inquiries all the time. So we need to be checking this email every couple hours. No, we set an expectation. We let them know you'll expect to hear from us within 48 hours. We're going to check it every 24 hours. We're more than likely going to respond within 24 hours. So everybody who submitted a booking form during that 24-hour period will all be able to be addressed in that one sitting. That is an increase in efficiency, eliminating distraction, and it's eliminating wasting time. You see what's going on there? So two things are happening at once with expectation settings. Now, I said earlier that I am going to give you two expectation setting practices that you can actually implement starting today. Now, most of the time when we say expectation settings, I'm talking about being a business owner, but it just works in any professional atmosphere, whether you own the job or you're just on the job, right? It still doesn't matter. And also, it works in your personal life. So here is one thing that you can do. Number one, you can set an email signature that acts like a frequently asked questions autoresponder. So here's what I mean. You're going to be interfacing with people all the time via email anyway. And at the bottom of your email, you can just have, most people just have sincerely their name, right? Like it's a letter. No, let's make it more effective. Let's set some expectations here. Put your name, let them know your title, because sometimes people have given them your email and they want to know if they reached the right person. And when you respond, they'll know this is my name, this is my title, or especially if you or what you own, what you do. There's of course the phone number, and then if you want to give that, but oftentimes people are trying to set up a meeting with you. So I think it would be effective to under that put a little link to your calendar right here. It's a calendar link. Then there's another link to maybe a website if you have one of those, and maybe a link to your CV or your portfolio or something like that if you have anything like that. So just link your name, your title, your phone number, whatever you would normally put, but let's add a few extra things because in doing so, we're setting expectations. So here's what happens when they see that link to your calendar. And you can even put right up under that a little star that says, if you're looking to set up a meeting with me, find a 15-minute calendar block, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Then under that, you could say something like, heads up, I respond to emails twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. So if you haven't heard from me yet, stand by. You can put your own little remix on it, but basically you're setting the expectation, right? Another thing that you can do, thing number two, right? Expectation setting practice number two that you can implement, and that is to set a time to start taking personal calls. A lot of times we want to be more productive, even if it's not in your professional life. Maybe you just want to be more productive at home. You're like, hey, I need to get all these done. I need to do the laundry. I need to do all this housekeeping stuff, run these types of errands. And then I get on the phone with somebody. I get distracted. I get sucked in. Next thing you know, I'm getting derailed. Or maybe you are doing something in the professional regard and you're getting started, you're trying to get in your zone of genius, you're trying to focus, and as you're trying to focus, you get a phone call, you get derailed, you get distracted, or now you get diverted, and now you're doing that thing. You're going to have to focus on what they just brought in when you really needed to be locked in and focused. So what you need to do is start setting a time that you'll start taking personal calls. Here's what I mean. You can tell people that, hey, I'm available between 11 and 2, right? My best availability is between 11 and 2. As opposed to like setting boundaries, like, well, it sounds like you just set boundaries. Don't call me. See, boundaries I love boundaries, by the way. I recommend boundaries, but oftentimes boundaries have a certain connotation to them. It seems like boundaries are meant to keep people out, whereas expectation setting is meant to help people operate within. Expectation says, hey, I know you're in. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be interacting together. And if you want to interact with me, this is how it's going to go. So I just want to give that little tip right there, a little extra sauce on this matter. So stop just setting boundaries and start setting expectations. Now, going back to this phone call situation. Let's just say, for example, I'm going to give you a little extra razzle dazzle. Let's just say people are calling you all the time during, like, you want to have the time from the time you wake up to 10 a.m. blocked off, which is what I actually do. What you can do. So what you can do to start implementing this into your world, your personal and business relationships, you can go ahead and type up a pre-saved message in your, how when someone calls you, you can say, sorry, I can't talk, or call you back in 15 minutes. Those are already preloaded. But you can type up your own custom message. And it's to say something like this. Hey, sorry I missed your call. During the week, my best availability is between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. If you'll be free then, would you please hit me back during that time? Question mark. Right? You see how that sounds? So when they call you during that time, you stay locked in focus mode. You don't just hit the end call. So people are like, oh, she rude. She never answered the phone. She unreliable. She does it. Nope. You just hit the button of that pre-saved message. It's gonna send them that message that says, hey, sorry I missed your call. During the week, my best availability is 11 a.m. to 2. If you're gonna be free during that time, would you please hit me back during that time? Like, they're gonna be like, yes or no. Or they're going to go ahead and say something that's either urgent or, oh, yeah, cool, no problem. I'll hit you back then. Or, oh, I didn't want anything. That's probably what it was too, right? So you see what I'm saying? Either way it go, in both scenarios, people will have an enhanced experience with your individual brand. Instead of them thinking that you're unreliable, instead of them thinking that you're unresponsive, they'll be reaching out to you during times when they know that you're most available. So you're less likely to seem too busy or avoiding or dropping the ball or missing the mark in any kind of way. Hopefully, you're down to try these two. And hopefully, you found all of this helpful, right? Here's the thing, I want you to find you a goal or an objective, set you an expectation, be accountable to it, hold other people accountable to that expectation, and then over time, measure the effectiveness of it. See if your results don't skyrocket. I can guarantee you'll be more efficient because you've set expectations. Again, if you found this type of content to be helpful, please subscribe to my channel because I have more like this in store. I said, please subscribe to the channel because I have more like this in store. I don't know why I wanted to make it sound like that. Let me know what expectation you are going to be setting today to enhance your overall individual brand and also to maximize your productivity. And I'll see you in the next one.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
Listen, you are tuning in right now to the square. And on the square, we have this segment called The Fountain. The Fountain is where we share a nugget of wisdom that you can take with you for the rest of the week, the rest of the month, until I see you again in the next video. Today's theme, or the theme of today's show, was personal brand. Right? Because I love business, but I also love productivity and I love structure and I love culture and I love all of that. And personal brand goes well beyond content creation and monetization and all that. There is a such thing as individual brand. I talked about the rebrand of Overstock.com to Bed Bath and Beyond, how their name alone just opened up so many opportunities for their business. And hopefully small businesses, creative businesses who are tuned in and watching this channel can actually listening to this channel can actually implement those in their rebrand or only rebrand once they know that they can do those things. Another thing we talked about was the Lizzo lawsuit, right? And the destruction of her reputation. So since she says it's not true, what I realize here is there is a lot in a name. And so I want to leave with a scripture. Proverbs 22:1, it says, a good name is more desirable than great wealth. Respect is better than silver and gold. I'm going to say it again. A good name is more desirable than great wealth. And respect is better than silver and gold. What I actually want to do is show you a breakdown over here. I like to actually pull up scripture and I like to break it down, right? So I just found the scripture, it said commentary, and let's see what they have to say. It said a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches and loving favor, or in other words, respect, rather than silver and gold. So a good name is to be chosen means wealth comes in many forms. The wealth of respect and the recognized the wealth of respect and recognized excellence in character is a good name. That's what makes a good name, not the money. It's the wealth of respect and the recognized excellence associated with the character of the person, of the business, of the entity, of the organization, of the department, of the individual, right? That's what the true wealth is. That's why I want to break this down. A good name. I could cross-reference it with Isaiah 43:4. I won't, for the sake of time. I want to talk about loving favor rather than silver and gold. It says the man or woman who appreciates the value of a good name or the favor that they find with God and man recognizes that it's worth more than silver and gold. And when you recognize that it is, see, when you really recognize that a good name and that kind of good favor is worth more than silver and gold, you govern yourself differently. You just have to. Because if it's that valuable, right? Wealth brings about assets. That means that a good name is an intangible asset, and that every single asset needs to be protected. Right? Of course it does. Of course it does. So here's what I want you to do. Go do good deeds. Go sow good seeds, because in doing so, you're really protecting an intangible asset that's far more valuable than money. That is your personal brand, aka your reputation. Again, reputation is an intangible asset, and assets are to be protected. I hope you enjoyed tuning in to this episode of The Square. Man, it's been my pleasure to talk about namesake. Until next time, peace out.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.